Alrighty. Well, hello and welcome everybody. Sorry we didn't have a show last week. I was not feeling up to it. I'm still getting better, but I feel well enough to do a show this week. So here we are. Joining me, as always, is my host and co-host, Peter. Welcome back.
Ooh, good to be back.
And is glad to have you back. I'm glad we're doing the show again.
Yeah, me
And
too.
also joining me is one of my editors, Nestlig.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. And we have joining us from the live chat from the out there world is Majestic P Beck and Science Nerd. Hello, guys. How are you doing? Well, how's your week been, guys? You had a good week?
Oh,
Good 2 weeks, I guess, since our last show.
I had a great time just a few hours ago, as I was telling you about numerology
Peter's
in
audio is a bit weird for me. It's
num-
like a double.
numerology in the Quran. It's
Yeah, it's kind of a little echoey. I don't know.
it
It's
echo?
not an echo. It's like you have two mics almost simultaneously. It's like
Apparently, I did have two mics on.
I'm not. Oh, not.
Oh, there he goes.
There we
Sounds
go.
fine now.
It's fixed.
No idea how that happened, but I did have two mics on. Now I've only got one.
Creationists in the technology.
I mean, if you're a producer like me, you have a lot of mics. They accumulate.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can think of at least 3 mics.
I have a third
So,
one,
yeah. There you go.
but this one's not connected.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and Smitty just joined. Hello. Welcome. So you guys so you were talking to a Muslim about numerology.
yeah, he was
That's on your channel, yeah?
yeah, he was on Orange channel. The link to that show is linked in the description of the one that we just did. And it took them 3 hours to get through how the Quran gets everything regarding cosmology wrong. So I thought, why not spend another 2 hours going over that? So that's what we did. I mean, he's a really nice guy, and I'm not going to fault him for that. But his reasoning, first of all, he's translating heavens to be planets and planets to be just pretty much everything. So a moon is also
Okay.
a planet, a star is a planet. So planets are not really
That doesn't
planets.
seem right.
No. And then those are in layers. So that would mean that the sun would revolve around Earth, as would all of the planets, which is also false. I mean, but
Well, I don't know if he like there's a very like I looked up from the etymology of planet, and from a really old usage, planet also referred to the sun, like in a very old.
yeah, but so here's the thing.
Usage.
He claims that the Quran is correct about the universe,
Right.
but he does name
Right.
our moon, but he doesn't name any of the other moons that are in our solar system, which is kind of weird because our moon isn't the biggest as far as I know. So why would you name a smaller one, not name the other ones, unless you're only naming the things that people could see from Earth 7th century? Would make sense.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah. You'd think that Allah could look a little bit further and know what he created instead of what people could see. Ooh.
I just had to turn my camera off. Things were getting kind of glitchy. I don't know.
Oh.
Not
Now I hear a slight crackle in Peter's mic, I think, or not anymore.
Might be a slight crackle in Peter. I have no clue.
Yeah,
I do hear it too. Yeah, it's a little crackly. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, Well, let's see. Last time we covered a video by Genesis Apologetics. That was them just lying about vestigial organs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. So this time we're doing more Genesis Apologetics, but they're like minute shorts, right?
Yeah.
Everything's like it's like 50 seconds to a minute, stuff like
It's
that.
it's really funny. So they did all these shows, posted all of them, I think, in a single day, 30 videos
Okay.
as videos, and they're now posting them as shorts,
Yeah.
which is a
Oh.
really inexpensive way of making content, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. My favorite line to this day from Genesis Apologetics is when John and Jane imply, if not outright state, that Mezonichids as a fossil clade didn't exist at all, which is just kind of amazing if you ask me. I don't know.
Is it John and Jane, or how do you
Yeah,
call
John and
them?
Jane. Yeah.
Oh really? Oh God, no.
Yeah, they Jane says that that Mezonichids are a made up group, that they did not exist.
Oh, but are they also in the videos that we are going to react? Or
I don't know. I don't know if that comes up in these videos, but I just wanted to point out that's so far my favorite Genesis Apologetics line is that one. I did also really enjoy last week or 2 weeks ago, the line where they say the eye has over 2 million moving parts, but they mean like the same parts because the photoreceptors they're counting as like every individual cell is a different part, which is kind of disingenuous, but whatever.
well, I have a better number. I can say trillions because there are trillions of atoms.
Right,
And,
exactly. Right. Yeah. The skin is actually trillions of moving parts. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, so oh, and Savage Cobra and Vesta Freya, welcome to the show. Um I guess on that note, we ready to start this thing?
I'm ready. So, teacher,
All right.
are you ready too?
I was just pointing out that the
Captain.
Bible is just a collection of myths.
What about the
it's
Dead
muted.
Sea Scrolls?
Yes, hundreds of ancient Bible scrolls found in the 1940s. So what?
It's silent.
Well, written 100 years.
You have to unmute the video, I think, and play back a bit because it's
Also, why does the main boy look like James Franco? What's going on?
like are they spoofing the chick tract?
Oh, Big Daddy?
Yeah, right, exactly, that one.
I don't know, maybe. Well, it's frozen now.
The setup looks exactly the same.
Well, I mean, let's be real. Jack Chick had probably never been in a classroom, and the producers of this film probably haven't either. So,
Let's see if it works now.
I was just pointing out
Okay.
that the Bible is just
There we
a
go.
collection of myths.
What about the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yes, hundreds of ancient Bible scrolls found in the 1940s. So what?
Well, written 100 years before Jesus came, they predicted exactly what would happen to him. 12
Wait,
prophecies
what?
in Isaiah 53 alone.
100 years before Jesus came.
wait.
I'm not going to say
Hold
anything.
on.
I'm Dutch, but I'm not going to say anything.
Are they
I
saying?
don't know.
Is it yeah, I'm not familiar with this. Is it saying it's like that the? Well, isn't it what is it in Daniel or whatever, where people like some apologists try to say, oh, it predicted everything that would happen to Jesus when it's not at all about Jesus? Isn't that the book of Daniel? I don't know, but yeah, I have no idea what he's referring to.
If you look at the guy next to him, he's already thinking you're going to get your ass kicked. Stupid stuff like
I'm
that.
not sure if Wikipedia is accurate on this, but Wikipedia says it dates from the third and first century, the third century BCE to the first century CE. So
Okay.
it can be before the appearance of
Sure.
Christ. Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
But like, is there? I don't know. I have no idea what the evidence is that I don't think they predicted. I feel like if these documents had predicted everything that was going to happen to him before it happened, like everyone would know that. I don't know.
Hmm.
Anyway, we can keep going.
I know. I'm not really interested in this. I hope they get something
Yeah.
else, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
was
let's keep
silent
going.
before his accusers. He was killed on the cross alongside criminals, and that was a practice which didn't even exist by the time Isaiah 53 was written. And then he was buried in a rich man's tomb. So, how can scrolls predict the future with 100% accuracy?
It's really
Fulfilled prophecy
lagging sometimes.
shows the Bible's accuracy. And when you put these scrolls next to modern day Bibles, they're 99% similar. So, yeah, I say there's lots of
What?
evidence that shows the Bible isn't just some collection of myths.
I have
So-
no idea if any of this is true.
So
I have no idea.
the scrolls that he's talking about aren't the originals. So we have no clue if any of the originals are 90%, 99% similar to what is in the Bible today. But even if it's only 99% accurate, how accurate is the entire Bible if you're just talking about one single thing in the Bible, and that's not even 100% accurate? He's
I don't
not
know.
making a very strong case.
Well, listen, I have no idea what this is referring to. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Oh.
I have no way to verify whether or not this is true. I don't know. There's like almost nothing to go on for this argument.
No, there
Almost
isn't.
nothing. So
Like,
I don't know.
again, I know how accurate Wikipedia is, so it taking it with a grain of salt, but it says that like 30% of the scrolls are like non-canonized texts that were
Sure.
not ended up. Yeah, so it's
And I mean,
Mhm.
are some of them probably like? Do some of them probably overlap with biblical texts?
yeah.
Probably, sure, but and so I don't know. It's like
Mhm.
if these documents predicted what would happen to Jesus, why don't we know the names of these documents? Why didn't he mention them? Why has not everyone heard of this? This seems like pretty slam dunk, and yet that was one of the vaguest arguments I've ever heard. Anyway, okay, there's almost nothing to go on for this, so we can just keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got a nice one.
That's it.
True.
That's it.
What about his? Interesting.
Oh, that's a
Okay,
close up.
okay. Can we stop?
What?
Can I also speak? I could
wasn't
see
look-
every pore there.
I wasn't looking at the screen. All I heard was she has a nice one, and I thought I'm missing something. Wait.
They're looking at noses. I feel like a bad argument is
Okay.
they're all talking about noses, and then there's a picture of like a Giaspiza on the TV. I feel like a really bad argument is incoming. I feel like I can predict that they're gonna say something really
School has-
stupid about finch beaks.
School has changed so much. I mean, I've been in school for quite a while, and there was never a day where we looked at each other's noses and tried to figure out whether they were nice or not. Topic never came up.
I mean, it's that Gen Z schooling, Peter. You got to be in Gen Z.
I mean,
Okay, anyway, let's see what they say.
Looking at everyone's noses and get back to the finch's beaks for now.
see.
So, on the Galapagos, Darwin found that finch beaks and their feet varied island by island, proving
Whoa.
evolution because nature was selecting the fittest birds to survive and reproduce.
Whoa.
I don't think that proves evolution. It just simply
What?
shows that the finch's beaks were adapting to their food sources on that specific island.
There was a 27
That's what natural selection is, you dingus.
The whole video is it. Oh, that's micro, not macro.
Right? That's all she said. I mean,
Yeah.
He says,
okay, so
he says that's
the
not
teachers-
evolution, and then explains it that it's evolution. It's
Actually, let's let him get out his bit, then we'll respond, I guess.
article in the science journal BMC Evolutionary Biology, and they found they weren't actually mutating and evolving by mutations
That's a lie.
or selection. Instead, it was epigenetic changes. which is special
That's
code
a
that allows
lie!
the animals
Okay,
to
pause.
track and adapt.
Pause.
I know it. I knew it. I was already expecting that when he said that. Yeah.
First of all, first of all, microevolution is still evolution. Adaptation, that natural selection leads to adaptations by acting on the available alleles in the population and making the population or making it more well suited to its environment.
Mhm.
So that's wrong. So second, then they said it's not genetic, it's epigenetic. We literally just did a video on the
Yeah.
Galapagos finches a few months ago, weeks ago, I don't know, time isn't real, in which we talked about one of the genes involved in the finch beak evolution. It's called ALX1. So no, he's just lying. There are probably, almost certainly, epigenetic factors involved in the construction of the beak. That's no one's going to argue with that. But to say that all the differences between like Geospiza magnorostris and Fortis and Difficilis and Septentrionalis, to say all of this is just epigenetic changes is just a lie. And they know it's just a lie. ALX1 is one of the genes that underlies beak development. It's also involved in our faces, right? This gene is involved in both their face and our face. So just lies, just freaking lies.
And also, like, epigenetics is just another mechanism of inheritance. It doesn't like override genetics. Like, like even when Darwin proposed his mechanisms of natural selection and sexual selection, he didn't know how inheritance worked. His idea was completely wrong. So now we know about genetics, and then we also know about epigenetics. Although epigenetics is actually more involved in the developmental biology, and but a bit less involved in like transgenerational. I think it tends to stick around for a few generations, but after a few generations, it tends to not be stable, as a mechanism of inheritance. So, but still, it can still act as a almost like a buffer, basically. It's quick to respond, and then in the meantime, something else can happen also. I've also seen some papers that discusses how epigenetics can act as a rescuer in a sense. For example, there is like a sudden change in an environment, then with the epigenetics responds really quickly, and that allows for just enough time for perhaps like a mutation to occur. Hopefully, like that, for example. Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think we've mentioned before, like the Dutch hunger winter.
Yeah.
In which that's where epigenetics was involved in the development of these people during a time of really harsh food shortages, and then once people were able to be nourished properly again, those epigenetic changes kind of disappeared. So yeah, okay. You guys want to add anything else?
Oh no.
All right,
I think I think we are almost like at the end of the show.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, of the clip.
Well, it's not strictly because of the Congo winter, but one thing I do still have every year when it's my birthday, we make it's a cake in some way, which you bake in the refrigerator, but it's also a meal, which is a recipe that came from the Second World War.
Okay.
And it's a meter by a meter, so it's not a cake.
Okay.
And it tastes very good. So.
Well, you'll have to send me some. Just send it through the mail.
I'm not sure. So it'll
get here a few weeks later.
Yeah, it might not be as good when it arrives. But, I mean, we could.
And Brian Stevens and Jamie E also just showed up.
Yeah, and Savage Cobra kind of official.
Oh, and I think we said Savage Cobra because they invest Freya were also.
Yeah.
Oh, and Icarus. Hello, Icarus.
And I recently got a bigger sock drawer, so I could make it so Eric Hovind shows up as well, but that's not. Because it won't be the real Eric Hovind.
Sad.
Yeah, I had some fun with Eric Hovind.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
continue.
Yep, let's end this one.
Their environments without changing the DNA, and it happens in just one generation. So it was never evolution. Really cool.
Wait, so does he think...
Many-
Wait, can you pause 1 second? So does he think that all of the changes in all of the finches are only epigenetic? So does that... Like, out of sheer curiosity, does he think, or does Genesis Apologetics maintain that, like, every species is separately created? Because otherwise, you know, I it's my understanding that most, you know, creationist organizations take, like, the family taxonomic level and allow for, like, speciation within that. But I don't know, if they're going to argue that all change is not genetic, then it kind of seems like they're taking a, like, species are independently created view of view of creation.
It's
kind of interesting.
They will move the goalpost as we go, Jackson. I mean, it all comes down to it's the bird kind. It's still a bird.
Yeah.
It probably got the same DNA as any other bird. I mean, that's basically that's what they say, right? I mean, a lion, a tiger, and a cat is still a cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
No?
I guess.
Do
But
they,
it's like, it
do
would be
they have
impossible.
different DNA, do you think? Do you think?
But it would be impossible to make that argument, though, that, like, they're separate species, but they have the same DNA. There's no way they could make that argument with a straight fit. Well, okay, you know, it's creationist, never mind. So,
As I said,
I don't know. Anyway,
they can move the goalpost faster than you can kick a ball.
That's true.
It's a thing. Okay, continue.
I guess we'll, you know what? I guess we actually, I guess one thing we might do is, since these things are so short, maybe we should just, like, let the whole clip go, and then we'll just respond at the end. We'll, like, hear the whole thing, and then we'll just say, okay, here's the problem. Yeah.
We're not
Instead of, like, interrupting them.
We're not going to
multiple times.
we're not going to make 2 hours if we do that, but I'm fine.
That's okay. It's all right. I mean, we'll still probably it'll take quite a bit of time, but yeah, we'll just let the whole clip play.
Okay.
And then we'll respond at the end. Okay.
Okay.
Flood myths come out of the ancient Near East, and the Bible's account is just one of them.
Well, then how do you explain 14 states in America filled with dead dinosaurs and mixtures of marine life and other animals?
What does that have to do with
There's an area that's about 1,800 miles long and about 1,000 miles wide, and it's filled in with mud, sand, and ash.
What is
which
it called?
Exactly what you'd expect to find in the case of a worldwide flood.
Those
What is it
creatures were
called?
buried millions of years ago, and their hard as rock fossils prove it.
Hard as rock fossils. Right. But there are 120 scientific publications that reveal 16 different types of soft tissue found in ancient bones at every level of the geologic column. Some of these soft tissues, like collagen, only have a shelf life of just thousands of years. So how'd that last for 65 million?
All right. No, that's exactly how I feel.
Exactly my reaction right there.
Okay. So, setting
Why
aside the
did I
fact,
take this job?
no, he's got the right idea. Look at that man. He knows what he's doing. Okay, so setting aside the fact that he began with, the Bible is just a Middle Eastern story, to which the response was, but what about fossils?
Yeah.
Which
Also, how do you call it again? The seaway, North American seaway.
I think he's talking about the Western Interior Seaway. I think
the
you're
Western
right.
Interior Seaway, yes.
Because he said 14 states and that they were buried, like, in water. I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
However,
because
it was a
obviously
seaway that...
obviously you get ash layers in water.
Well, there
who
are
hasn't
ash
heard
layers
like
between the
fire-
different layers.
You can have
because-
fires on the water, right? Yeah, exactly. Like I've seen SpongeBob. You can have fire on the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right, yeah, exactly. But I mean, you know, you have to date these layers with, like, ash layers, right? So you can do radiometric dating and stuff. But that That's so insane. So I guess the argument was the global flood explains the fact that only 14 fossils have, or sorry, only 14 states have like fossils that were buried in watery environments.
Yeah,
I guess.
The other states weren't part of the U.S. back then, so they don't have.
Like, I guess
That's probably they weren't allowed, and back then they had a wall because
correct. Yeah.
And
Also, I think like the type of deposits that are found in these in the mid, how do you call it, the Western Interior Seaway, the type of sediments you can find. They you need a relatively calm ocean for that to happen. Also, you have like coral reefs growing, which doesn't tend to happen in the middle of a flood, right?
I mean, the seaway lasted millions of years. There are like millions of years of deposit, which of course they don't agree about, whatever. But it's a lot of it's limestone, right? Because it's or it's chalk. It's because it's the Niobrara chalk formation makes up a lot of that, which does not form quickly. No. It just doesn't, because we know that chalk is made from the like the skeletons of teeny tiny organisms, and this just does not accrue very rapidly. There's no way for that to happen.
And doesn't
like they assume that you can have like you can have something happening slowly over a long time, or you can have the same thing happening quickly with a lot of deposits. But no, you can't tell the difference between fast and slow. You can it's pretty telling.
And also keep in mind, coral needs fairly quiet water in order to grow.
Exactly.
So that would have grown really, really well in a what do they call it? Explosive flood, while volcanoes are going off, providing ash for different layers. I mean, that's a really good environment for coral to grow in.
Right. I mean the latent heat alone would like cook everything alive.
Yes.
Right. Oh, because corals have to grow in the photic zone, right? They have to grow in the area, in a particular area where sunlight is able to penetrate the water. So if you're going to raise the water level tremendously, you're going to kill all the coral that exists.
Yeah, and mix it up with ash.
No longer in the photic zone.
And mix it up with ash. That's going to be
mud and dirt and all that sort of stuff.
And didn't he make the claim
how
that
long can coral survive in the dark? I don't know.
And didn't he make the claim that you find the same bones in every single layer? I'm pretty sure that.
Well, he said you find soft tissue in every layer. Yeah.
Oh, soft tissue,
which is also just insane.
Yeah.
Also just an insane thing.
Yeah, and I might be wrong, but did they find collagen, or did they find collagen-like structures?
I believe they found. Well, it was blood vessel-like structures. It wasn't the actual blood vessels, but they have found like microscopic diagenetically, like basically geochemically altered collagen. But they have found, there are microscopic fragments of collagen that have been found in dinosaur, non-avian dinosaur fossils, but not in every layer. As far as I know right now, the oldest is in like late Cretaceous animals, right? I think that's the latest. But yeah, just to claim that it's in all layers is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. No part of that argument made any sense whatsoever.
Oh, well, at least they got one thing right in the video. Did you see it?
What?
The teacher
that he face-palmed
currently on screen. How the
You know what? He's like, this is why America is like 30th in education or something.
Yes. I mean, that was a gish gallop of stupid. What just happened?
Yeah, my goodness. Okay. Anything else you guys want to add, or?
No.
I think also that the pausing right there, it says it all. Yeah.
That's pretty great. Yeah, that was pretty perfect timing. All right,
Mhm.
we can keep going.
Okay.
That could become a meme.
We know our early ancestors, like Lucy, were walking upright because we found her footprints in Tanzania.
Wait a minute, weren't those footprints
No, that's not the only
1,000
thing.
miles away from where Lucy was found?
Yeah, give or take.
Well, how big were her footprints?
What?
Well, they didn't actually find Lucy's hands or feet.
Well, so how big were the actual Tanzania footprints?
About 10 inches long.
That's how big my feet are, and I only wear a 9.5.
So wait a minute. So they never found her feet, but Lucy, a 3.5 foot tall person, made 10-inch long footprints 1,000 miles away? If you ask me, it sounds like the story that Lucy walked upright is lacking some evidence based on the Tanzania footprints.
Okay, pause. Okay, so that was a whole lot of abject garbage all rolled into one. The Laetoli footprints are not Lucy's. They are made by an Australopith. There are hundreds, or at least dozens. There are at least dozens of specimens of individuals that we have found fossils for of Australopiths. There are like half a dozen different species of these guys at least.
There's one site, I think it's called AL333.
Right.
Like a whole family was there found, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is insane. Lucy is just one specimen. We have the hands and feet for other Australopithecus afarensis individuals. Just because we don't have Lucy's in particular doesn't mean we don't have them. We do have them for other individuals. And no, yeah, like that cranium down there is not it's a composite of different individuals that we found for that species. It's like it's not just Lucy. We're not
also
guessing.
even the skeleton itself of Lucy, you can still tell from the pelvis and the upper leg bone
And the knee, yeah.
And the knee itself, even
But
that is more similar to us.
But Neslick, didn't you know they reconstructed the pelvis to make it look like it?
No, wrong.
I mean,
Casey Luskin is a hack.
This is a problem because these people do not understand that every species that has ever lived comes in populations. That the mere idea that, okay, we found Lucy and we found footprints 1,000 miles away, probably because there could be different populations of the same species, which would
Peter, remember, these people believe that like every species came from just two individuals. They have no conception of how populations work.
These people believe that they found Lucy's skeleton in one place and 100 miles further away they found her knee.
Right.
So,
she threw it really hard.
Yeah.
Also, this guy has the best reactions after each video. Yeah. How do I reach these keys?
Yeah, no, that's so stupid. That is so stupid. I mean, the other thing is, the Laetoli footprints are obviously not modern humans, right? They're obviously a hominin, so a biped, but who did not have the exact same posture as us. This is non-controversial among anthropologists. It is also non-controversial that Australopiths were bipeds because, as we mentioned, as Vanessa just mentioned,
the pelvis and the knee,
the hips, and and the pelvis, the knee, all the features of the feet. All these things indicate bipedality. Even most creationists, a lot of Todd Wood over at Answers in Genesis acknowledges this.
But
right?
we don't speak about Todd Wood because he admitted that evolution was true. There were no problems. It was a well-founded theory that had no problems whatsoever, and he only rejected it because of his belief in Jesus Christ. And every single time I say that, I need to thank Apologia for posting that particular blog, which made Todd Wood make a new notation on that particular blog because apparently the atheists are visiting his blog. Well, yeah, go figure. Apologia found it, and I tweet it at least once a month, I think, to someone or link it in a chat or whatever. It's a great blog post, and kudos to Todd that he never removed it from his blog. It's still there. It's refurbished. The article is redone, but every single claim is still there. So that speaks a bit for Todd Wood, I think. Not all creationists are this honest.
I feel like at this point, even if he does remove it, there are enough screenshots of it in different places that it's never going away, you know.
But there might be copies on sites.
That's true, on archive and stuff like that. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
anyway,
just people
right,
who copied the entire page and just saved it on their own website just in case it might disappear.
Yeah,
I've done that.
This was dumb. This one was super dumb. It's like they aren't even trying. These arguments are so bad. It feels like they're not even trying.
The Gish Gallop version of internet YouTube.
Who legitimately who argues that Lucy herself made the Laetoli footprints? Who argues that?
Creationist.
That's just insane.
Because all the
I've never even heard that before, though.
Yeah.
I've literally never heard anyone argue that before. Right? Like
all we have is her and nothing else, nothing more, only her.
Yeah. God. Okay. All right. Anyway, we can keep going.
Well, one more thing. So this is a good example for what happens if people tell each other things and then they tell it to someone else and they tell it to someone else. So there are claims being made on creationist websites. This guy in the class here he was at the end of the game of telephone where everything got garbled up. And so, yeah, that's how your Bible was written, basically. So keep that in mind. That's how accurate it is. And
they're walking in the footsteps.
But the sad part is that we watch these videos. There are teachers in classrooms all throughout the US who get this in their classroom and might even be instructed by a school board not to teach the kids evolution in a proper way. That makes me so sad. I mean,
well, I don't think the school board would do it because then they'd get 1,000 angry parents and then probably the press down their neck.
I have spoken.
Individual teachers might.
I have spoken with teachers who were instructed. They could teach evolution, but they had to glance over it as much as possible. So not go into depth.
We've had stuff like that here in Louisiana. There have been some attempts like that, but they always bring in the press, and then they go to court, and then inevitably they lose. So
yeah, but some teachers still fear for their jobs, and so don't call the press. I know at least two. I've talked to two. That
ironically, this also happens with history. Well, I guess I don't know if it's really ironic, but this is a thing I've heard from history teachers also, is that there is some fear if you teach certain parts of American history. If you don't teach that American history is the founders were great, and then the Civil War happened, and then everything was great after that. If you kind of go off script and teach Reconstruction
it's like
ended way too early.
It's like this teaching history as a parable or a moral lesson for
right. Yeah. Anyway, all right, we can keep going.
Christianity is a blind faith, but belief in evolution relies solely on science.
Hey, that's right. Living things can't come from non-living things.
Huh?
Well, like the professor said, right? So evolutionists have to believe that non-living matter became alive at some point in time down the line. Professor, can you give me a non-disputed scientific fact of how that could happen?
There are several theories, but science is still trying to figure that one out.
Right. So the law of biogenesis states that life can only come from life. It is scientifically impossible for life to generate by itself. But that is exactly what you believe, sir. And that is the definition of blind faith.
Okay, so I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Again, the best reaction you can make.
Right, like the best part of these videos is like his
Yeah.
little end bit. He's like, "Oh my god, these stupid children." No. I think that was pretty straightforward, right? Like, first of all, there is no law of biogenesis. The idea is there is biogenesis, which really more applies to like cells, like how like pieces of liposomes and stuff will form from like pre-existing organelles and stuff like that. But that's not a law. It's really just an observation.
At best, it can be seen as a response to the spontaneous generation thing. Like they once believed that a new generation of like worms or a new generation of even mice could have like been spontaneously generated from decaying matter, but then the biogenic law would say that oh no, a new generation comes from a previous generation, but it says nothing about the origins of life, nothing at all.
You want to know what is really funny about that? Because they always attribute this to Pasteur, right? They say, "Oh, Pasteur disproved spontaneous generation, therefore he disproved abiogenesis." Actually, Pasteur was convinced that abiogenesis could happen, not spontaneous generation. He was convinced that organisms could form from like inorganic pre-existing materials. And I read a whole paper about it that was published back in like the 80s or whatever, about Pasteur and I forget who it was, the person who argued against him for spontaneous generation. But at any rate, it went super in depth on all of that, on like the experiments that Pasteur did.
Virchow or?
I don't remember, honestly. I don't remember. As well as like the lead up, the debates over spontaneous generation that occurred prior to that. And in fact, Cuvier was a guy who had argued against spontaneous generation like the generation before. Using a lot of arguments that creationists use to this very day, which is kind of funny, but anyway. But at any rate, no, Pasteur was not, or did not believe that abiogenesis was impossible. He thought spontaneous generation was, which is not the same thing. And there's this attempt, I guess, to sort of wipe away that history of Pasteur, just kind of pretend like that didn't happen, it wasn't there. And then, of course, in this video, there's the what do you call it? The trying to equate two terms, which obviously
Baychamp, maybe. How do you call it? I'm still trying to figure out the person who you.
I'll see if I can try. I'll try to find it. But the point is, here, give me one sec. But the point is, they're trying to equate two terms that are not equal, right? They're trying to say, oh well, blind faith is believing anything you can't directly see, which is insane. Also, let me see. Hold on, give me one sec. I'll see if I can find it. Pouchet. I believe. Yes, Felix Pouchet.
Felix Pouchet.
Pouchet. Pouchet.
And
that's right. So
yesterday, I'm subscribed to a German science communicator, who does a pretty good job explaining things in layman's terms, and they have a tiny Albert Einstein sitting on the desk, so it looks like I'm there a little bit. But so yesterday they came out with a new video that we now have a new possible explanation for abiogenesis, which is based on solar flares. They recently discovered that in when the Earth was young, there were massive solar flares, and given I'm losing my words. The components present on Earth, they had done tests before with lightning, and it was much more plausible that these solar flares could have contributed to forming amino acids. It's I'd have to go back and watch. I just watched part of it earlier
Okay.
today because a lot of things were happening. It was a really nasty day
Well,
for Germany in general today.
well, it's
that got
this
me
argument is
distracted.
just gotcha. Yeah, this argument is dumb. He's just saying, well, if you can't see something directly and know absolutely everything about it, it's blind faith. No, that's not true. So that it's not even really an argument. He's just saying no you and pointing the finger, and that's kind of all he's doing. So all
Mhm.
right, well,
Oh, but by the
anything
way,
else? Are we ready for the next one?
Louise
Hmm?
Aldemise, probably butchering the name, that Schrodinger's cat disagrees. In that same video, there was also a part about Schrodinger's cat being fatter than previously thought, and they spoiled everything at the end by saying Schrodinger didn't even have a cat; he had a dog. But if you want to see that, I'll link the video. I tweeted the video earlier today, so people who follow me can find it. Yeah, Majestic P back saw the tweet. Schrodinger had a dog,
It,
not a cat.
this is actually something that is not very well known. Like Schrodinger's cat, was actually an argument made by Schrodinger against the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, because he was like, oh, if the Copenhagen interpretation is right, then is the cat alive or dead, or is it both? And that's how weird it is. But then they were like the physicists were like, well, yeah, exactly, that's how strange quantum mechanics is, and it became a popular meme.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really ironic, because the person who first came up with that analogy was against the interpretation. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know
Alrighty. I think we're
absolutely
ready.
nothing about quantum mechanics. What I do know is that Schrodinger came up with this in 1935. So I'm pretty sure that if no one has fed the cat, it's probably dead by now. And even if
That's
they
probably true.
fed it, dead. But
Yep. Alrighty. Let's keep going.
shall we continue with our...
Yes.
There she is. These are replicas of Lucy, the best example we
Wow.
have of human evolution. They pulled hundreds of bones out of 20 feet of dirt over a 164-foot area.
But her bones actually refute evolution.
Okay,
What?
Paul, if you know so much, why don't you come on up here and tell us all about it?
No.
As you can see, they could only find 5 of her skull fragments. The rest of it here, the white areas, all up to the imagination. Then, the neck vertebrae. The only problem is, they only found 1, and it's not hers. It actually belongs to an ancient Therapithecus, which is a monkey, not an ape.
What?
Therapeutic.
Next, her pelvis.
No.
They actually believe that she walked upright because of her pelvis, but when they found it,
Oh,
it was
there we
crushed.
go.
So what
There
they
we
did
go.
is they reassembled
Oh.
it using a power saw to make it look like she walked upright.
Oh no.
It seems like your best evidence for evolution is missing a few pieces.
All right. So pause.
There we have your argument.
Yep.
That you
There's
alluded
Luskin's
to.
stupid lie. So no, they didn't. Well, I guess for anyone who hasn't seen it, go watch the Professor Dave video. Where he just exposed it all in super detail. But the point of it is, so no, when they found Lucy's pelvis, it was slightly crushed due to geological forces over the past, whatever it is, 3 million years or so. And so essentially, if you looked at it, or the way that her pelvis was shaped as a result of geological forces, she wouldn't have been able to walk. Her pelvis was like pushed into the femur, so she wouldn't have been able to walk. And so they were like, well, obviously she didn't look like this. This is from this is a taphonomic artifact, right?
Yes.
And so they made a cast of it and showed, well, this is how it would have looked like in life, given that, we know what organisms look like and how their pelvises work in relation to their limbs, their lower limbs. Like, they didn't have to make it up. We know we know how pelvises like sit in relation to the limbs. That's not something that
basically
comes out of the ether.
From what I remember from the video, basically all they did is bend it back so the leg would actually fit in the pelvis, and that was enough. They didn't do much more. I could be mistaken, but I think that's what I.
And the pelvis wasn't pressed into the femur. Yeah, it was like it was pulled out a little bit. But like, yeah, and so what Luskin tried to do. Oh, what'd you say?
It would like if we assumed it was like this in real life, it would be anatomically impossible for her to move around. Yeah.
Well, and she wouldn't have been able to walk at all.
The fun part is, I think Luskin used the actual video that they made about the reconstruction of the pelvis.
Yes.
And left out at the end of the video where they said, and other finds confirmed that it was restored correctly.
Well, not just that. I mean, yes, that's true, but not just that. Luskin implied that they actually molded the original pelvis when they didn't. They made a cast of it and then molded the cast, right? Like it was like they were trying to cut up the original thing to make it appear as though she were bipedal, which we knew she was bipedal. It's not the way that the femur fits in, or I guess the joint fits into the pelvis. It's the shape of the pelvis. The shape itself is what indicates bipedality, as well as the shape of the knee and the shape of the feet. And you're right. There are other individual Australopiths who have been found who all have those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we know that these organisms were bipeds.
Well,
he mentioned
I saw the video.
Skull fragments again.
Yeah, I remember watching the video that some creationist made about it. I think it might have been Luskin. I have no clue. But first of all, they said that they weren't working on the original pelvis.
Yeah.
And at the end of the video, the guy who reconstructed it actually said, I was surprised how close I got to how it originally looked when we found more specimen of the same Australopithecus. So, but this is where they leave it out. It is quote mining in video. We've got this on video. This matches our explanation, but we're not going to show you the rest that confirms it. Basically, the same thing they do
to their argument.
Yeah, it's the same thing they do with the famous quote about from Darwin about the eye.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
why be honest when you can just not be honest?
Yeah.
The thing about the skull is like literally the exact same argument. Like we know what their skulls look like because we have like actual skull, intact skulls of Australopiths. So whatever. The what do they say? The spine fragment? No, they compared it to Theropithecus and showed that it does kind of look like the cervical vertebrae of Theropithecus or whatever it is, but it isn't actually a gelata spine or vertebrae. It's not actually one. It looks like one. They compared it morphologically to one. So no, it's not a geladas at all.
No, it's,
So that's
it's not an extinct monkey. Not the vertebra.
Yeah, the vertebra was not belonging to an extinct monkey. It was actually Lucy's. They were just comparing the morphology to other monkeys, to known monkeys. That was all that was happening. So no, that's complete distortion.
It's the game of telephone again.
Yeah, all these arguments are just like they're so ridiculous. They're like, it's like he got a whole bunch of things kind of like all wrong. Like he heard a bunch of different arguments, but he kind of forgot most of them and then just kind of threw it all together. That's kind of what this is like.
And we're missing Divine Outcast in the side chat, who is Aldemis said, what about the many parallels between Genesis and the Egyptian creation myth by Ptah, the god of craft? I could be mistaken, but the Egyptian creation myth is basically a god masturbating, then swallowing his own sperm, and thus creating everything. I'm pretty sure Christians would have a problem with that.
I have no idea. The creation myths, I don't know, the Near Eastern ones that were all sort of from the same area. A lot of their creation myths invoke a deity who basically brings order to the chaos, which is again in essence what Yahweh does. Yahweh brings order to the chaos of the universe. That's what the beast of the sea is. They're not whales. They're like chaos gods. And in other Mesopotamian myths, the various respective like elder gods or whatever slayed the chaos beings, which is what brought order into the universe or whatever. But anyways, so this is all nonsense. We can just keep going. So,
and you expected otherwise? It's Genesis.
No, I didn't.
Just okay.
Anyway, as I was saying, dinosaurs died out millions of years ago, and we have their hardest rock fossils to prove it.
Did you know that there are over 120 scientific publications that show that biomaterials are still in ancient bones? 50 publications for dinosaurs specifically.
But these bones are solid rock.
Well, some are, but many aren't. Here, check this out. Many dinosaur bones still have blood cells and vessels, hemoglobin, bone cells, histones, skin pigments, and collagen.
They even found cartilage and nerve cells in some dinosaur bones. How could they last for millions of years? The evidence points to dinosaur bones being buried recently, and that fits with a biblical flood.
Okay, so again, no, that didn't happen. That just didn't happen.
I'm always cracked up by this guy.
Yeah, he does pretty good. But no, the researchers have not found actual blood vessels. They found blood vessel-like structures, which were not themselves blood vessels. Microscopic fragments of collagen have been found. There was one study that found like I think it was some chromosomes that were like preserved, but they were in. But I don't think any effort was done to like try to remove them or anything. But at any rate, no nerve cell. There are no cells in general because let's
cell-like structures. It's so for
cell-like structures.
For people who want to check this out, Ra recently did an interview with Mary Schweitzer, in which she said how disturbing it is that her work gets misconstrued and lied about all the time by creationists.
Well, I think part of the problem is that like news outlets, for instance, call it soft tissue when what is tissue? Tissue is a collection of cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of what has been discovered is actually soft tissue.
No.
None of it. None of it is soft tissue.
They have to make it. They have to make it soft first, which is another thing they leave out.
Even then, it wasn't tissue. Yeah.
Right. It isn't tissue. Right. Like the collagen, the microscopic fragments of collagen are not tissue. It's not a collection of cells. it's protein. It's just the protein. That's not soft tissue. The whatever else they found, like the melanosomes, that's not tissue. Those are proteins. Histones are also proteins. I don't know specifically any studies about histones found in dinosaur bones, but whatever. Everything they say that's like it's a cell is just wrong. No cells have been recovered from any of these, any non-avian dinosaur fossils or other ancient fossils. When they get DNA from recent fossils, is because they like ground down the bones and they got the DNA that was in it, but not like cells. It's not cells that they're getting it from, right? It's just lies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we really need to stop using soft tissue to refer to like the collagen and stuff in general, just because it's not soft tissue.
Brian Stevens says if we really had soft tissue, we could get at least some of the genome. And yeah,
you would think so.
Yeah, the Dutch are still pissed off. We have to make do with a mammoth meatball. A dinosaur meatball. I mean, would love to have that. Love their meatballs.
Yep. I mean, hey, it's, everyone loves meatball.
It's a
delicious
national dish in the Netherlands. I think Nestle can confirm that.
The mammoth meatball.
The meatball, the mammoth. So we did have a mammoth meatball, but no one was allowed to eat it, which to me that seems frustrating. If you're a cook and you're making the first ever mammoth meatball and then present it to an audience and no one gets to take a bite, that has to be frustrating. I mean, wouldn't you want to know what it tastes like? I mean,
right. Yeah.
But so
absolutely.
There is this thing. So if this gets if there's proper research and it's safe to eat it, imagine what you could get at your local diner. All kinds of new foods that, I mean, I hope I live long enough to be able to go and taste that. Would love.
I want to taste that sweet mammoth meatball.
Yes. As long as they take all the hair out, then I'm fine with it. But hair in my food, that.
Ugh, gross. Anyways, okay, let's move on. That's great.
Okay.
So our ears have evolved so that we can only hear frequencies within the human range.
Can I have 30 seconds to prove that our ears didn't evolve that way?
Be my guest.
Our ears are designed in a very specific way. What they do is they trap sound, send it down the ear canal where it wiggles the eardrum. And behind the eardrum, there's three little bones here that vibrate and amplify the sound by 1.6 times. Then they send the sound into the cochlea. So inside of here, it amplifies the sound again by 22 times. And that goes through a little bit of liquid. And so inside the ear, there's 20,000 little hairs right inside this area that open and close chemical doors that transmit this sound waves into brain signals.
Oh.
What it does is it goes down a little wire wrapped around a nerve in our brain so that we can interpret it. So, my question is, how did time and chance and this random evolution assemble these 5 systems perfectly?
All right, so first of all,
a clue can be found in other organisms. They have some, but not all of these parts. There you go.
I mean, that's basically it. Yeah, that's the whole thing. We talked about this last week, so I don't feel like we went into a whole bunch of detail on this when last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever. But yeah, basically it just boiled down to that. I do want to. Yeah. The only thing I want to add, that was he said at the beginning, or the teacher said they evolved to hear within the human range. I don't really know what that means.
I mean, tautology.
Jackson,
right?
Jackson,
yeah,
you
exactly.
don't.
It's like, well, every species hears within its own range. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean that has to be some designer that made that humans can only hear sounds that are within the human range, and dogs can hear things that are in the dog range. I mean,
Right, yeah.
imagine you could
It's kind of
hear
a weird.
imagine you could hear dog whistles, Jackson. You go nuts.
I probably would, yeah.
Not that anyone uses dog whistles anymore, but it
Yeah.
that has to be
I
the
don't know, that
dumbest
was just
the dumbest thing that I've seen so far. It evolved
yeah.
exactly to hear sounds within the human range.
Right.
I mean, we would
Yeah.
basically saying so if the ears evolved to not hear our counterparts, we would basically be deaf. We would hear everything. Super chat.
Also, Savage Cobra, kind of official for $5 says, I'm a professional pilot. Anyone who says the human inner ear is well designed is lacking in intelligence. God just wants us to die of CFIT. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? What is CFIT? But I agree, the inner ear, it sucks. I mean, how many people a year, lose their hearing, right? How many people a year?
Unintentional collision with the terrain. I found it on Google. The CFIT.
It's called what?
An unintentional collision with the terrain.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
that happened in the Netherlands last week.
Thank you, Savage Cobra, for the $5. Controlled flight into terrain. Yeah.
He is right though, because everyone who's been in an airplane before knows that some people can pop their ears and other people can't, and they're struggling. So yeah, God didn't want us to fly.
Well, that's why he didn't give us big bird wings,
Yes, I mean,
but yeah, as we mentioned last week, yeah, just look at fish, look at amphibians, look at reptiles, then look at the different systems within mammals, and see that different organisms have different hearing apparatuses. The system that he's referring to only exists within therian mammals, right? It doesn't exist in monotremes. It's not in reptiles or in birds or in amphibians or fish or any other animals, and they all hear just fine. So anyway, alrighty. I think we covered that one pretty well.
Okay.
Guess how many candies are in the jar, and it's yours.
500 million.
Wow, you get it right every time.
There's no way.
How do you know? Did you even count?
No need. She's always right.
Okay, well, now that Susie's done with our little Geology Club fundraiser, I want to get back to radiometric dating, which proves the Earth is over 4 billion years old.
Aren't radiometric ages tied with unprovable assumptions?
Well, I have over 500 geology books, and they all support these ancient ages.
Okay, so how often are they accurate with the ages of known rocks?
What?
For instance, when radiometric dating is used on known rocks, like volcanoes, it's always wrong, often by millions of years.
What are you saying?
Well, if it's wrong on the ages of known rocks, why would we trust it with unknown rocks? It'd be like Abby here, guessing that there's 500 million pieces of candy in that jar. It's probably way off. No offense.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Actually, radiometric dating methods are super good with within obvious ranges. You have error bars with any dating system, obviously, and it's going to be proportional to the time scale that you're working with. But we have actual to the year dates for carbon dating.
Even better.
You can do carbon dating on tree rings and ice cores with you
had a guy on
the things within it.
You had a guy on your show who said that we can actually in some occasions get it right to the day. Remember that?
I remember him saying the year. I don't think the day, but I mean, he was talking. I think he was talking about Vesuvius, wasn't it? Because we have the historical date for Vesuvius, and then rocks from Vesuvius were dated to the calendar year. Right?
Okay.
So
then I got that wrong.
It was so we have but again, if you know, based on someone's writing, that like a volcano erupted in like 1850, and then you find ice cores which overlap with that time period, and you can date them and get the calendar year for the volcanic eruption. Right? Like that happens regularly. That is a normal thing. What he's referring to, being super vague about again, is he's referring to that time Andrew Snelling took some volcanic rocks and just like sent them off to a commercial radiometric dating company that like he did no geochemical analysis of the rocks whatsoever. He basically just found these rocks and sent them off, and they came back with these anomalous dates. And it's like, why are you surprised? We don't know anything about these rocks in particular, about their geochemistry, and you got crazy dates. Like that doesn't surprise me at all. But there are papers, yeah, for Vesuvius and for numerous other volcanic eruptions where the calendar year was found using radiometric dating. I argued about this with a creationist a couple weeks ago because he asserted that you can't do that with ice cores, and I sent him a bunch of papers, and he said he couldn't open them, and then he just kind of disappeared. He just kind of slid away. But
I also recall that there was a case where someone sent in dinosaur bones that came from a museum, and they were covered in shellac, and so they were dated to the time that the shellac was made, and got that pretty good.
You're probably right.
So, and yeah, it's not billions of years old. No, here's the thing: if you contaminate the sample, you might get a wrong date.
Right, and that's probably what happened with Andrew Snelling's rocks. Is they were contaminated, or we don't know what was in them, and yeah, we got crazy dates. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's like radiometric dating is a tool. You know, you use a tool for a specific set of circumstances. You don't just use a tool for anything. You know what you have to put or use the tool on or put into the tool or whatever to get the desired result. And so if you put in stuff that is not what the tool, that don't fall within the tool's parameters, you're going to get crazy answers.
Yep.
Like that's for anything. And they act surprised about it because they're just disingenuous.
And it's also a well-known fact because when Mary Schweitzer found the soft tissue, she thought that the rocks were contaminated and therefore gave a wrong age, and that's why she didn't want to publish it. And then the guy who was she was student at the time, if I'm not correct. And her professor said, you need to investigate this and then publish it. That's how she got a PhD. And being a young creationist in one go, because science does with you. If you find the evidence, no way around it anymore.
Yeah. Luis says we have some seasonal dates, but those are for tree rings only. Yes. So researchers can actually tell like what actually it's not just for tree rings. You can also do it for ice cores. You can figure out or you can see the seasonal debris that accumulates within the annual cores, because different seasons have different types of debris that accumulate, and researchers can identify when the ice formed based on that debris, which is really cool. But creationists just kind of pretend it doesn't exist, because if it's true that ice core, or that you can find like annual ice layers, and the ice layers go back hundreds of thousands of years, well, maybe the Earth isn't 10,000 years old.
Well,
so
that's what I was going to say. These are the people that claim that the Earth is 6,000 years old because of the calculations of Bishop Ussher, who got the calculations wrong. And then there was another guy who could actually name the date and the time. It was on a Thursday, I think somewhere around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's all plausible, right? Because of...
No, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Because of people reading a book that doesn't say that doesn't even come close to saying that. And
Yeah.
Funny thing is that if it's correct, Thursday, nice touch from
Yes.
Yahweh, creating it on the day
Right.
for another god. Ooh.
Well, remember, God did acknowledge the existence of other deities.
Mm-hmm.
He acknowledges that there are other ones.
First commandment. Don't believe the other gods.
Right.
Believe me.
Yeah.
Literally the first commandment.
I'm trying to think. There was one other thing I wanted to say with regard to radiometric dating. I mean, like we know it works for like calendar years and stuff, and so you can be relatively assured. Oh, that's what it was. The other thing is the principles that underlie radiometric dating are like foundational principles in physics, right? Like, conservation of energy and mass and all that sort of stuff. And figuring out like the decay constants for different isotopes, for different like radioactive isotopes, that's all stuff that follows from like basic physics, right? And so if you are going to argue that these things are wrong, you have to argue that our entire conception of physics is wrong, which good luck with that, because your GPS runs on foundational physics.
I was just going to say that because you can't trust any of that, but your GPS is based on an atomic clock, and you trust that. I just ordered a speedometer for one of my scooters that works off of GPS. That accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Buy those for just a few bucks. Put it on, and it just works.
Yeah, it's like you can't say these things are wrong without saying everything we know about physics is wrong. But then if you do that, you have to jettison like all of technology and everything we know about atoms, and the way the planets move and all that sort of stuff. Like it all goes out the window. None of it works, which is you can't. So they just kind of sort of mealy mouth. They're like, oh well, maybe we're misunderstanding this, and then they invoke miracles for everything else. So
but Jackson,
whatever.
you know that a GPS just works off of cell phone towers, right? I mean, because the earth is flat and there are no satellites.
Peter, GPSs work purely on vibes. They are vibe based. Only feels, no thoughts, only feels. Okay.
Feelings.
All right, I think we've beaten this one to death. Yep. All right, we can keep going.
My presentation on the eye.
The human eye is one of the greatest all-time achievements of evolution.
What are you saying? Well, I guess I could have mentioned that the eye has over 2 million moving parts, a million nerves connected to the brain, and over 100 million light-sensitive cells. If the eyes were a digital camera, they would have over 576 megapixels. That's over 20 times better than this. The eyes have 100 million light-sensitive cells and can see a single lit candle almost 2 miles away. 2 eyes give us depth perception, and each eye has 6 muscles attached, so we can track objects without having to move our heads. And these 12 muscles coordinate perfectly, so we don't go cross-eyed.
And you want us all to believe that all of this just came about by chance.
Okay. All right. So again, no. Again, the same sort of argument with like the ear. There are lots of organisms that don't have the same eye parts that we have, who see perfectly well in their own respective ways. I'm very skeptical about the can see a candle 2 miles away.
Actually,
if it's dark, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, actually, that is true. But if the candle, if your head
2 miles away,
yes. But
okay.
I learned that I learned that when I was in the military, and they actually showed us that it's possible because
that's kind of cool.
That's in your basic training. So people would light up a cigarette, and you can actually see a cigarette for a very long distance.
Okay.
But
That's kind of cool.
What they leave out in this perfect eye is that if that candle is 2 miles away and just in your blind spot, you won't see it at all. Another fun fact.
I mean, that's true. But my issue with this is he's way over. He's basically adding way more. We joked about this earlier. He's saying like it's 100 million cells, and his Netflix saying, well, it's a trillion atoms. You know, it's like
moving parts.
It's like, okay,
he said moving parts.
Right. It's like your photoreceptors aren't moving; they're just sitting at the back of your eye, just taking in the photons. That's all they're doing. Now, I mean, of course, they're doing like phototransduction, so the light's coming in, and then they're initiating a cascade, but they're not moving.
Well, Jackson, what happens if you start walking?
If you, yeah, I guess so. I guess they are moving. They're
I'm coming up with all new creationist arguments. I mean,
stop helping them, Peter. But it's like the skin. You know, oh, the skin is like hundreds of millions or probably billions of moving parts because it's billions and billions of cells. Like, okay, but it's kind of all the same cell, right? They're all doing the same thing.
Oh,
it's not like every single one of them is doing a different job.
Jackson, one thing.
So
the moment your skin stops moving, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because if you breathe in and you breathe out, your skin is moving. That's no longer happening.
Yeah, it's true.
Very bad.
That's true.
That's one of my dad jokes. Another one, who deals with aquariums a lot. I had a plant in my backyard. If you were to lie underneath it longer than about half an hour, you'd be dead. Was? You heard a plant like that? Plant. If you lay
a plant, or if you
were to just lay underneath the plant, underneath the leaves, longer than half an hour, you're dead.
Okay, why is that?
The water lily.
Ha. Ha ha.
As I said, I'm really good in dad jokes. Comes with the age. And it does.
I don't know if it's my mic. I don't know if it's my hearing or what, but it still sounds kind of staticky.
Oh, from
Does it
my
sound
end,
staticky for you guys? Oh, well, not anymore. It did for a moment there. I don't know.
I haven't seen anything. So even your camera was normal, or you cut it. So.
Well, it still sounds a little static. Anyway,
it could be that StreamYard is acting up. They have done something.
That's possible.
Again, it's a great piece of software to use when you do shows like this. But I mean, 2 or 3 updates a week, really?
Okay, Smitty says he doesn't hear anything. Okay, well, maybe it's just me then.
Yeah, it's probably StreamYard acting up again.
Okay. Nestle, do you want to add anything, or are we ready to move on?
Move on.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll move on.
Okay, if you want to believe in God, that's fine. But answer me this. Where did God come from?
May I?
Be my guest.
Space, time, and matter are a continuum,
no.
meaning they have to come into existence at the same exact time. So, first, we have time. Next, we have matter. And then, space. If you have matter but no space, where would you put it? If you have matter and space but no time, when would you put it? They have to intersect and come to one being. So what could do that? God. And God of the Bible answers this in one verse. In the beginning, time, God created the heavens, space, and the earth, matter. You see, the God that I worship is
I don't think that's how that
not
works at
limited by space, time, matter. He's above it, beyond it, in it, and through it.
Yeah.
I don't even care. I just don't care. I don't even care. All right, we can move on.
I just want to say one thing. So, if you have no space and no time, Where would you put God? When would you put God? Because he's outside of all of it, right? If you're using these
the biology
arguments,
astronomy teacher is hosting a theology debate.
Yeah. That's very likely. And everyone clapping at the end.
And then everyone clapped. Yeah.
I mean, finally we can believe in God because he just said so.
And then everyone clapped for $5.
Right. Yeah. Okay. This is nonsense. All right, we can just keep going.
Oh, and remember when I said that we might not make it?
Is this the last one?
No, we're 9 minutes in. And we've got
good. We have content for next time.
And we have 17 more minutes to go.
Perfect. We have content for next time. All right.
Let's
keep going.
Oh, thank you.
Science proves evolution. Case closed. No questions.
Excuse me, but you haven't done anything to prove that science actually supports evolution.
I said
real
no
science,
questions.
that is.
Real science? As if I don't understand real science?
Well, all the things that we've been discussing have been through the lens of historical science, which is based on our worldview lens to interpret them. Fossils, guesses about which transitional forms gap between creatures. All these ideas rely on historical science, not real science. Real science is able to observe, test, and repeat to find conclusions. That's how we brought people to the moon. That's how we make new medicines. Historical science can't do that.
Which are also based on evolution.
In fact, it takes a lot more faith to believe in evolution than it does to believe in the creator God.
Looking around with his eyes in the background.
Okay. So this is
if the other guy just like rolling his eyes all the time in the background.
Is that what he did? Did he roll his eyes?
And the guy sitting next to the other guy talking, like, all right, no, never mind. Just
did he? Did he roll his eyes? Is that what he did?
Yeah, he was like looking around, like a really weird facial expressions. Like I was distracted by that. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. I missed it.
All right.
Well, basically, this there were really two main points. One was that he said, like assumed transitional fossils. Well, how do we know that some organism is transitional between two others? It's the characters that it has. Obviously, if you do like a data matrix of its characters, then you can see that, oh, look, it's not quite this and it's not quite that. It's kind of in the middle. Whoa, crazy.
It has traits that are associated with this group of organisms that mostly occurred earlier. Perhaps not all of them, but mostly occurred earlier. And even another group which was hypothesized to be the descendant group of this older group. And look at that, we found something that looks like in between. Of course, it might not have been in a direct ancestral lineage, but it shows there is something what we would expect to be there.
Yep. And of course, his other argument was the stupid historical versus observational science, which is based on a misunderstanding of what science is. Science does not require that you do experiments for everything. That's just fundamentally not part of science, that you necessarily have to do experiments. It's the only way we can glean information about the world. No, that's just wrong.
And also you can observe
nobody believes
fossils and touch fossils. And you can do experiments in order to figure out in what layer the fossils are in and what date the layer fossils are in. So I don't get the entire historical science thing, because pretty much everything science does is applicable to
well, the reason they divide it is they want to pretend that historical science isn't real except for the historical science that we like, which is of course the flood. Like, you can't trust historical science unless it proves that the earth is 10,000 years old and a global flood happened. Then you can trust historical science, because they're just hypocrites. But also, I mean, you don't have to do experiments to, like, I wouldn't say it's an experiment to, like, figure out where an organism goes on a phylogenetic tree. Like, sure, it can involve experiments, but I don't think it necessarily has to. I don't think just recording data and putting it into a matrix is an experiment. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But regardless, whatever. But also, you can do experiments to validate evolution, right? You can test all the different mechanisms of evolution experimentally. And so if this guy, the teacher, didn't do that, then that's on him. It would also blow that kid out of the water. So I don't know.
Oh. And for those who are easily distracted like me, we do see the baby Jesus in the monitor. He's standing just behind Smokey Saint.
Wait, what?
The monitor. You see the big monitor next to the teacher?
Okay.
So you see
you see Jesus up there?
You see something that looks like a lamp, or maybe a guy in a monk suit with a face that lights up. And right beside that, you see the little baby Jesus. But you probably have to enlarge the screen to see it. So now I've got everyone pausing at this moment trying to find the baby Jesus.
I can't tell. I don't know. I can't really tell.
It could also
it's not very large on my screen, so
it could also be pareidolia.
That's possible. But not auditory pareidolia.
Not audible. Let's
throw back to earlier.
Let's not bring that.
See, I paid attention.
Yes, you did. You did. So we'll have to wait and see.
Anyway,
I'm really surprised he hasn't shown up yet, because I did say that I was going to be on your show again in a few hours. The guy that I was talking about, he's from Brazil. They speak Portuguese, and he was the devil addressed him in the opening credits of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and the devil was in disguise as a serpent, talking Portuguese, slithering through a graveyard that had a tombstone with the name of his grandmother on. That's coming up on my channel soon.
Oh boy. Oh, actually, that also reminds me. There was a guy who emailed or who kept talking about protein folding problems. And we told him, if you want to come on and talk about this, well, email Peter and we'll set it up. That guy did not do that. Well, he emailed Peter and just talked endlessly, but never actually got around to setting up a discussion with us. So as of present, he has not set up a discussion with us. He's not here now. No, it's not Otangelo. It's some other guy. But he just kind of wanted to talk, I guess. He just wanted to talk. He didn't want to actually engage in discussion.
No, what he wanted to do is he wanted to send me videos, and then you should respond to them. And I told him that's not how this works. You asked for the. I asked him in the chat, "Do you want to come on the show?" And he said yes.
Right.
To which I then posted my email address, which I do for your show. I do that for Arn's show. If people want to get in touch with the guy whose channel we're on at the time, I'm more than happy to act as a filter to keep out the nut jobs. This one, at some point he sent me 5 emails in 1 hour without me responding to any of them. Kept sending emails with insults and all kinds of weird stuff. So, I mean, even if you were going to have him on your show, it would be a gigantic dumpster fire, and I would advise I would advise against it. But I mean, it's still your show.
Yeah,
but
almost certainly.
He did say that he didn't want to come on. He just wanted to send videos, and then you should respond to them.
Yeah, nope, not interested. So he said he was going to come on, and he did not ever come on. So womp womp. Anyway, all right, we can keep going. Just wanted to throw that out there in case anybody remembered from like 2 weeks ago when he was
in light
in the side chat.
In light of the protein folding, he folded.
Correct.
Another dad joke.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
There you go.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah.
They don't pay me enough for this.
You say evolution is based on scientific facts, but they take unrelated animals and fit them next to each other to talk about how they evolved from one another. And they take things like this dinosaur fossil and make presumptions about its age to fit their theory.
Yes, scientists have pieced together the puzzle of evolution, but using solid scientific inferences.
But that's historical science, not observational science. Historical science is like piecing together a puzzle, but in the end, you may not get the right picture. Real science uses observation, testing, and repetition. That's how we got people on the moon. You can't do that in the past.
So, since both creation and evolution are based on the past, they're both ideas that are built upon faith. And I think that it takes a lot less faith to believe in a well-designed universe by an intelligent creator.
I think the acting is again.
There he goes again.
I think the acting. I was almost going to say I think the acting is going to is getting lower in quality right now because they are
except for the teacher.
Yeah.
He's still spot on.
Except for the teacher, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They do not pay that man enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, it's kind of the same exact argument with, there's observational and historical science, which on the one hand they say, oh, well, observational science works, but historical science doesn't. And then he immediately pivots in the same breath to say, I just think it takes less faith to believe in this thing that happened in the past. It's just hypocrisy. You can't say, you can't make a statement about how we can't study the past and then say, well, I believe this thing about the past. It's
also
that's dishonest.
The moon landing,
it's dishonest.
were you there?
Right? Were you there? How do you know that happened? Yeah, right. But it's not assumptions about age. It's not assumptions about how these organisms work. We can directly study genes to show that organisms correlate in their morphology and their genetics. We can directly study the ages of rocks and fossils and
I love it how an organization like Genesis Apologetics makes a 50-second video and then posts it. It goes to post-production, the whole stuff, edit it and add the music to it, finish it, put it there so you can post it on the channel and then think, wait, we could do that even better. And then make a video about the exact same topic, also 50 seconds long, and then be dumb enough to add in one thing, and that is making it look like science is like religion and is based on faith, dragging it down to your level, which is basically exposing your level. Because if you think that actual science is less believable when it is faith-based, what does that tell you about your religion?
Yeah.
I mean,
did you notice that he didn't make any arguments?
No.
Right? There were no arguments made in this video. He just said it's an assumption that or the ages are assumptions. These organisms are unrelated, which he didn't specify anything at all. He just said they're unrelated.
Mm-hmm.
It was super, everything was vague. He just saying like tropes, like these are just tropes. They're not arguments. So there was no argument even made here.
No. And Genesis Apologetics thinks that it's so good that we may need to make 2 videos.
Yeah.
No argument whatsoever.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should send that teacher an oven mitt because he's going to hurt himself.
Also, so for the next stream, can we use this as the thumbnail?
Peter, can you crop that take a picture of it and then crop it so we can use it as the thumbnail?
Oh yeah. I can do all kinds.
Because I would very much appreciate that.
Do all kinds of things to that picture. I'll surprise you.
All right.
I'll surprise you.
Okay. All right. I'm very excited now. I'm excited to see it. All right.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Although I cannot be there next week, unfortunately.
Oh no, that is sad. You're too good for us, Nestle. Is that what?
Nestle, you didn't ask for a day off. You know you have to apply for a day off at least a month in advance. You know how this works, right?
At least, if not more. Yeah.
Yeah. There goes my paycheck.
All right. Anyway, we can keep going.
Okay, now on to Lucy, the single best example we have of human evolution.
Oh my God,
Just
again?
A small pile of bones?
Well, this isn't just any pile of bones. These are replicas of the bone fragments of Lucy.
Is this here the same one at St. Louis Zoo?
Yes, that's the one.
Could you show us all of her skull fragments, please?
Well, they actually didn't find much.
Argument.
It's just these pieces here.
What about a vertebrae, neck vertebrae?
Well, they only found one neck vertebra, but they later discovered it didn't belong to Lucy. It belonged to an extinct.
No.
What about her wrists? Were they like ours, or were they locked in place for chimp wonking?
Here's a wrist bone. They locked just like chimps today.
Where are hand bones?
They actually didn't find any.
Well, that didn't stop them from putting them on every statue of her in any museum I've seen.
Okay, that was the same exact argument. Literally the same exact argument. And the thing about the wrist is no, they were not knuckle walkers. She lived she was a tree dweller. Right? Like she could walk bipedally, but bipedalism evolved from like trees down. They were not knuckle walkers. There was no like knuckle walking ape stage in hominin evolution, because the way that chimps do knuckle walking is different from the way that gorillas do knuckle walking. It's different. They are all descended from an ancestor who did not do the same locomotion that all the modern representatives do.
I think we discussed this in the Gibbons tale, I think.
Was it Gibbons? Maybe. That might have been that one. Yeah, we talked about it at some point in the Ancestors Tale series. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're right about that. But point is, no, this is the same argument they made earlier. It's still stupid. So anyway,
there also might have been a Gibbon who talked about another dad joke.
Probably there probably is a Gibbon who did that. Yeah.
Yes, but have you figured it out yet, Jackson? These
have I figured what out?
So Genesis Apologetics seems to be a great fan of Kent Hovind. Don't you see it?
They?
Don't you see it?
Are these arguments he makes?
It's so obvious because we just had 2 videos about the same topic that wasn't exactly a topic. Now we have a video with the exact same topic about Lucy, just slightly different. What does that tell you?
That they're terrible at producing content?
No. Hovind makes the claim Hitler's propaganda minister said, if you tell a lie long enough and often enough, people will start believing it.
Oh. I mean, he's not wrong, I guess.
I mean, basically what we have here, right? And also why Hovind doesn't have any new arguments and will still repeat the same stuff over and over.
You're saying he's making the same lie for all these years? It's almost like if he just keeps saying the same lie for all these years and we'll just believe it?
Yeah.
Well, I never.
Isn't that how they define stupid? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? Hovind debating atheists with the exact same argument. Oh, yeah, it's insanity. With the exact same arguments, expecting a different result.
Yeah. I think debating Hovind is also the definition of insanity.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should debate Hovind anymore. He should just drift off into obscurity.
That is true. 100% agree.
Yeah.
You thought you rewound? Yeah, we did too. All right. Keep going.
Yeah. But I mean, Majestic P-Back wasn't here when we did the series about the creationist book. It's all rewound. It started in 1967 with one book, and literally every claim that every apologist makes is in that book. Well, maybe not the Lucy things.
It's just a never-ending Ouroboros.
It's the exact
snake eating itself continuously.
Exact same thing over and over and over again. I mean, yeah. And I wish I had a dog camera because my dog was face palming just now. He does that. Okay, continue.
Yeah. Yep.
You may have heard that human and chimp DNA are 98% similar. Well, that's not quite accurate. First, the chimp genome is about 4% larger than the human. Second, they only compared similar sections from each genome when they came up with a 98% similarity.
Genome.
Also excluding 25% of the human DNA and 18% of the chimp DNA.
Well, how similar were the two genomes when they were compared side by side?
Between 66% and 84% at most.
Okay. I know evolutionists needed that 98% to be able to support the idea that humans branched off about 6 million years ago. So if it's only actually 84%, wouldn't that be too many genetic changes for the evolutionary timeline?
Okay, so that's Tompkins' stupid argument, which actually I think Erica recently in an R and Raw video, she actually discussed like his methodology and just how absolutely bonkers insane it is and how he got that number. But also no, there have been like direct genome comparisons between humans and chimps, and it is about, it's like 98-97% similar, right? There have been actual genome comparisons. Now if you compare the what is it, the like protein coding genes, then it's, you know, it's extremely high. We're almost identical.
99, like 99%,
yeah, it's like upwards of 99% identical or whatever for most of the protein coding genes. It's extraordinarily similar. So no, there have been genome comparisons, and it's about 98-97% similar. So this is just wrong. I don't know where he got they left out 25%. I don't know what that's from. I think that's also from the Tompkins thing, isn't it? I could be wrong, but I think it's also the Tompkins thing. But anyway, they're just wrong. You know, surprise, surprise. He's just wrong. Anything you want to add, Nestle?
I think it's so far fine. I think we can continue.
Okay. All right.
Well, here's the thing. And for people who watch On Raw, that's becoming a recurring thing. Here's the thing. We're exactly halfway. And and we have,
I guess we're getting pretty close to the end of our
a little over
show,
10 minutes to go. So what do you want to do? Want to continue and have a backup video next week, or do you want to cut it here?
I mean, yeah, we can just cut it. We're pretty close. So we'll just we'll do our ending stuff.
Okay.
So alrighty. So far it's been stupid. Extremely stupid.
You didn't expect that, Jackson. You did.
I mean, you know, I always have my hopes up, but then they always get dashed, like babies in the Bible, you know. So
I've come across creationists who at least sound more intelligent, and sometimes come up with things that you could actually talk about. All of this is so incredibly stupid. This is a classroom series. So I'm wondering, what classes are they showing? What grades do you think this is aimed for.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the guy who does most of the talking is my age. He's not like a high schooler, so you know, I don't think if they're in school, they're in college. But maybe that's like remedial college. I don't know.
Would you show this in a college other than for entertainment purposes? I mean,
so actually, I'll tell you one time. So I took a cell biology course, and I won't name any names, but I took a cell biology course. I don't know if this was on accident. It may have been on accident, but so she plays a video about the what are they called? Kinesins, the little guys who do. Did I tell you guys about this? Have I talked about this before?
I don't know. Like, continue.
I feel like I have. Anyway, the Kinesins are the little guys who, like, you watch the videos of them and it looks like they're walking along the microtubules.
Microtubules, or do they walk on actin or microtubules? I think microtubules.
I don't remember. I think it's microtubules. I think you're right. But anyway, so the shut up DM wing. But anyway, so the video is about the Kinesin and the Dianean arms and all that sort of stuff and how they're moving around. And Savage Cobra kind of official for $2 says they're 25-year-olds in 10th grade. Correct. Yeah. No, at this rate, like if they're this bad, they probably failed 10th grade multiple times. Anyway, so at the end of the video, thank you for the $2.
The professor is face palming all the time.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Savage Cobra. I appreciate it. So at the end of the video, it goes through the whole thing, talks about everything, all the things the Kinesins do, the secretory vesicles, all that sort of stuff, everything that's involved. And it says, no joke, the last line of the video is, and that's great evidence for intelligent design.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that, yeah. Like during our conversation with the three stooges, yeah.
You're right. Yeah. I knew I'd mentioned it before. I was like, I'm pretty sure I talked about this before, but anyway, so it's like, my education, very sadly, my neither my high school nor my college education focused very heavily on evolution. I have a bachelor's in organismal biology, which is basically zoology. It's basically the same thing. I took a bunch of classes on animals and all that sort of stuff. And the sad thing is, like, I feel like, it really didn't cover a whole lot of evolution, which I was very sad about. Much of what I know about evolution was, I've learned on my own time outside of school, from my own independent readings and all that. And so it just, I don't know. I don't think anyone would ever show these videos just because they're stupid.
But I think it's also like it's like they want to portray like the educational system as like, oh, they are just bombarding you with all this evolution stuff, and no, it's actually the opposite. In at least in America, I would imagine like it's most often that the topic gets sidelined. Like they want to as much as possible because they want to avoid any angry parents or something like that. Yeah.
In high school, yes, or high school and like middle school, yeah. I don't remember anything about or learning about evolution, like middle or elementary school, certainly. But in high school, I remember very, very briefly going over it. And then I actually took a class on evolution in college, but like that's kind of it, Yeah. In zoology, they didn't really talk about evolution really all that much. It was mostly just kind of descriptive, and same kind of with the other classes like microbiology. There's just kind of descriptive. You don't really talk about evolution. There was a class I didn't get to take it, but it was a microbial genetics, which sounded kind of interesting. So maybe they talked about it in that, but most of the classes I took that were relevant to my degree in biology didn't really cover evolution in any depth, really. So, kind of sad. I wish I'd gotten more evolution stuff, but
I got I got during high school. I got some very simple, just natural selection, very basic population genetics, like not too complicated to remember. And it was more like a side topic alongside genetics itself. Like it was the focused class on anything. But then when I moved on to college, also like when almost in every class regarding genetics, evolution was also discussed. And also in the Masters of Science, also plenty of evolutions, because I eventually became focused on biology. So yeah, you can get a lot of from it. Yeah. But but the only thing the only story that I can remember, like when the topic went to evolution versus creationism, it was like an old story my professor told me. But when he was a student, he got in a fight with his own professor, like way back when, and because his own professor didn't want to teach evolution, and he was the one challenging his own professor because of that. And he was like gray haired, like he was like over in his 60s. So yeah,
that's pretty funny. Yeah. I actually I took a genetics class, and I'm pretty sure my genetics professor was a creationist. And my reasoning for that is based on the fact that one day in class she said the genome is like probably 100% functional, and that sent off all sorts of red flags and sensors and everything. I was like, oh no. How is that possible?
I had a similar moment. Like I remember in a genomics class.
That sounds cool.
They like just one side note, like only a brief moment, like the ENCODE project showed like that there's a lot of functionality in our genome, and then they moved on, basically, like that. Like okay, I didn't make a fuss about that. During class. No.
So after my professor said that, I went up to her and I was like, hey, are you familiar with like Dan Grauer's research? Because he did a paper where he showed like what the functional fraction of the human genome. And she was like, I'm sure he has his opinion, or something like that. And I was like, what the frick kind of answer was that? Like, what?
Yeah, but, I did challenge my professor on one occasion. Like it was the same professor about the story, like his own story about like when he was a student, and he challenged his own professor because his own professor didn't want to teach evolution, and he wanted to learn evolution when he was a student. But I challenged him on one very issue about cladistics. There are these organisms called oomycetes, which were once considered to be fungi, but are no longer considered fungi. And I said like, oh, you're wrong. These are not fungi anymore. They have been reclassified, and he wouldn't listen. Like he has been taught they were fungi, and he will always remain fungi because that's how how he was taught.
I think Aaron has a story like that about like the anthropology professor wouldn't change what he was saying because he's like, I learned it this way, but like the thing for me is, if you're teaching a science class, for an English class or whatever, you probably don't have to change very many opinions about the English language. But if you're teaching biology, right, like botany or zoology or something like that, and something gets reclassified, I feel like it's kind of part of your job. It's incumbent on you to change your curriculum to reflect that, right? To continue being accurate, so that if something does change, if it turns out like, I don't know, the Natalians are like not actually gymnosperms. Oh, they're actually, basal angiosperms or something like that. If that does in fact turn out to be the case, then okay, well, you, as a botany professor or whatever, you have to change your curriculum to match that, to show that this is what we now know.
But Jackson,
so unfortunately, this is like actually go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, if you grew up and you were taught that the truth never changes, one book doesn't ever change. It's truth.
That's true.
So,
but this is unfortunately a trend in the human condition. Like we all have confirmation bias. Like we tend to stick to our guns. Like all of us, it's everyone. And it's also the case, like, I think it gets worse when you get older, because like it also, like, little kids are very easy to learn new languages all the time. Like, it's very easy for them to learn a new language, but when you are like in your 50s, like, it doesn't happen as easily anymore. Yeah,
Right.
I think
if you happen to have gray hairs, it might not be as easy.
You're making it worse and worse and worse. I mean,
yeah. Sorry, Peter. I'm sorry.
I mean, last week I turned 61, and you're talking about people in their 50s already. I mean, damn.
Oh, Peter, I didn't know it was your happy belated birthday. I didn't know it was your birthday last week.
Thank you. Yeah, I have one every year, same date.
Really? Every year?
I got accustomed to it.
Crazy. I feel like we celebrated your birthday last year, Peter. I don't know.
I think so. At least I did a show on my birthday last year. I forgot which it was because old. But anyway. By the way, you got a comment. You got a comment in the comments.
Oh, what comment do we get? What comment?
He tagged you.
Oh my goodness, you're ridiculous, Peter.
I'm still thinking.
Is it a real guy?
It's a real guy. I'm still thinking of just see what happens if I put a comment in Aaron's chat and tag him. If he sees it,
that would be you'd be trolling your own person from the side chat.
I might. Anyway, it might get me fired
just
if I do.
The hour. That's possible. Yeah. All right. Well, we're just past the hour now. So, what have you guys got coming up?
Yeah, as I said, I've got.
You go first. Oh, sorry, you go first.
Yeah, no, you go first because I've already told most of it.
Okay.
I have a few things more, but you go first, Nestle. Because you're not here. You're not here next week, so we
all right. Yeah. It's been a while since I have mentioned that I would like to do a video on photosynthesis, but I have not been getting around that until now. So like now I'm starting to do some research because I now have more time than I used to. So perhaps maybe in a few months I can get something out.
I actually finally understand photosynthesis now. I finally this past week I finally like committed the whole like photo system to memory.
Yeah,
I did that.
And
it was.
I think I will probably do it in several videos because otherwise it would be like a 1 hour or maybe 2 hour long video if I do it all at once.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think the Dodo's tail should be coming out in like the next couple of days. I recorded all the parts already, so I just have to put it together. It's not a very long video, so should expect that pretty soon. The next one also, the elephant bird's tail won't be very long either.
So. Ooh, we're going through all the birds, or is it the last bird, the elephant bird, or is it more birds going?
Yep, the elephant bird is the last bird that we will discuss, and then we leave the sauropsids and jump all the way down to amphibians with the axolotl's tail after that.
Ooh.
So, yep.
Okay, I'm just looking. Right. I'm just looking at the chat. Is Eric Hovind blocked on your channel? Because if I
don't, because I didn't see it.
Yeah, if I look on my own account, I don't see it either. So
it shouldn't be because he's obviously never been on.
I also don't see his comment in the.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it, Peter.
Oh,
and I don't think I would have ever been able to block him because he's never visited my channel, and I don't know. That's weird.
It's not showing up, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I just noticed.
Yeah, I don't know why. So weird.
Yeah. So as I said, I have the guy hopefully next week talking about how Nagini speaks to him in Portuguese in the opening credits of Harry Potter, and then we also have another guest coming back, hopefully the week after that, with a topic of his choice. So I have no clue what that's going to be about, but this is a flat earther who said he wanted to learn about evolution, but I do have my doubts. So, and then I'm still waiting on an email from a university professor from Canada who's a Christian and who wants to come on our channel and talk about why she believes these, which is another one that I'm really looking forward to. Professor Flynn set that up, probably because he's a university professor and met her, I think. But yeah, and then on Saturday, we're back on Orange channel, blaspheming the Bible. So Orange back from Canada from his
the one irredeemable sin.
Yeah, he was on the ReasonCon, we ReasonCon, I think it was in Alberta, in Calgary, I think.
Okay.
And I didn't get to go. Lilith got to go, and they visited the museum with the most amazing dinosaur on the planet. And I really wish I was there. But a lot of people were there. Neil was there. Neil 604. Apologia was there. Seth Andrews. Okay. Godless Mom was there. So those are things
I really enjoy. Those sorts of events. Like I've been to 2 Faithless forums. I went as a guest to the first one, right, just to be there and see it all, and it was really fun. Then I went as
celebrity,
one of the panelists to as a celebrity. Yeah. No, I feel like more people recognized me the first time I went than the second time, which I thought was very ironic. But anyway, everybody was recognizing Erica. Everybody recognized Erica, which was cool. Because her channel, by the way, if for some unknown reason you watch my channel but you don't watch hers, go subscribe to her immediately. Highly recommend her content. I can't recommend her content enough, honestly. But yeah, we got to be on a panel with Aaron and Stephen Woodford, Rationality Rules. That was one, and then we were on another with what's his name? The guy who does all the cults. Telltale. We were on one with Telltale Atheist, on a different one. So yeah, and there's a picture of me with my aquarium paddlefish shirt on. Because there was like a news group or whatever that was there, and someone wrote up a blog post about it. And at the top where the title is, there's a picture of the panel that Erica, Aaron, Telltale, and I are on, and I'm in the picture, and I'm like got my arms crossed and I got my paddlefish shirt on, which is really cool. It's yeah, I love those events. It's really cool getting to meet all you people in the meat space. It's a lot more fun, than just talking over, like this, like Zoom or what have you. So I almost got to see RJ in person. I was very sad that I missed him, but we were real close to meeting. Although RJ did get to meet like Dapper in the flesh, or the scales, I guess, over in Arizona. So anyway,
it's actually Scoots.
The Scoots, yeah, you met Dapper in the Scoots. Yeah,
Scoots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
anyway, this is the thing. We don't have those things here in the Netherlands. At least I'm not aware of it. Have you ever seen an event like that in the Netherlands, Nestle?
Not famous. I know there was like a very old one that was organized by a freedom thoughts group, like an old like a how do you call it, like a free thinker group, basically. That was a very old free thinker group, and then an ROA joined that group, I think. It was a very long time ago. Like I saw I saw like one of his videos, and I see like, I see like, oh, he was in the Netherlands. I didn't know that.
Wasn't that something with free thinkers in the pub or something like that? Isn't that?
Yeah. I think like de vrije gedachte.
Yeah. So what happened is the last time that Arn was in the Netherlands, and I think that was in 2014. And I had spoken with Arn just before that on the phone, and I told him, if you're going to come to the Netherlands, I'm going to be there. And so I made a note.
I'll be there.
Yes, I made a note. I had this agenda that I would still physically write in. I put it a week later. But everything set. I had the day off to go travel to, I think it was in The Hague, where he was. And when I saw the thing coming on Arn's channel, I thought, wait, what? That's next week. And Arn posted the video on his channel, and I figured out that I was a week late. I didn't make it to that one. I'm still pissed off.
Yeah. But it happens. I have had the experience I've probably told you guys about on this channel. This is one final closing thing. That Aaron Lalandra, a friend of mine, and we all went to this swing place in Dallas. I went to meet with them a couple years ago, and Aaron had me try the hottest wings and the hottest hot sauce I have ever tried.
Oh, no.
And it was awful. It was the worst irritation.
I would refuse.
Well, okay, so my friend is a lot smarter than me. She did refuse. She didn't try the hot sauce, which is called End of Sanity. She tried the wings, but she didn't try the hot sauce, and that was, like I say, women are smarter than men. So there's that. So Aaron puts like a single like drop of this on a bare like naked just fried chicken wing. Yeah. He's like, you can't have anything on it. You have to just taste it by itself. Okay, so I like one drop, and it felt like getting punched in the face. It was.
Yeah, you're already prepared for going on the hot ones.
I guess because I couldn't. My sense of spice was broken for weeks after that. Like nothing tasted spicy for weeks later, and I like spice in my food, like just to add flavor. I like gumbo that has a bit of spice to it. I like jambalaya and etouffee if it has a bit of spice to it. Like that's good, but it's not making me cry.
Yeah. So, I'm guessing you. I'm guessing you maybe already know that, but there is a hypothesis that capsaicin evolved to be a selective deterrent. Like only mammals are affected, but not birds are affected.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Somebody says I would have also refused. Yeah. No, it's like a little bit of spicy is a good thing, but too much is just it's the worst. And so trying the so he recorded it, so I'm on camera trying this hot wing with the one drop of spice.
I need to see that. Where is it?
Where is it? He never uploaded it. The sound quality was so bad because it's a restaurant. There's people all around us, and so the sound quality was so bad they never uploaded it. But like you just see me, I'm like
just remove the sound and add the sound of a kettle going off, like
right? Yeah. No, absolutely, yeah.
Speaking of video, I don't know if you've heard. You got another super chat.
Oh, Vandalia for 1998 for $1.99. Every other spice was mild after that. I just didn't taste them. I just didn't taste spice for weeks later.
It burned off your taste buds for a few weeks. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about this. I don't know if this was at SatanCon or the event Arn went to just before that. So they did a couple of restaurants and bars, and Arn forgot his bottle of spice in one of the restaurants. And this was one of the hottest that he has. I wish we could have video of someone eating at that restaurant, seeing the bottle and thinking, "Oh, this looks cool," you know?
Right? Yeah, just
and
like
then,
a few,
and then dying as a result of it, because I mean,
yeah, no, probably like, oh yeah, I'll just add like a little splash to whatever thing I'm eating, then just absolutely die.
and then
Yeah,
suing the restaurant for losing their sense of taste, and the restaurant claiming that's not ours. And it would be kind of fun.
If I'm ever going to meet Aaron, I will bring Pepto-Bismol with me.
Okay, so when we went to the Faithless Forum in Austin, he tried to give me his scorpion sauce, and I was like, oh no, not this time.
Once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I've played this game before. I know what's in that. Anyway, all right, well, we got to go because we're like almost 20 minutes over. So, all right, well, thank you everybody for watching. Everybody in the side chat, really appreciate everybody. Thank you, Peter and Nestle, for coming. Always happy to have you.
Anytime.
And we will see all of you next time. So, bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.